Hey friend, welcome back to the Deep Water. This week, and the next couple, I think, if we can manage it, you're going to have one of the A-team with you, with me. Meet Mary. Hey Mary,
Hey, friend.
welcome to the Deep Water.
Thank you for inviting me. But quite often you create that space for me anyway, so it seems fair.
I think it's what we do
Mhm.
often. So, Mary and I, there's a great story here, and the Deep Water always has a backstory. You want to tell how we met?
Several years ago, Jackie's youngest son, who's now what, about 6'4",
6'3".
6'3", yeah. Well, I was taller than he was when we met, so several years ago. And I saw a young man and the most gorgeous dog. And I'm a sucker for a dog, so I stopped him and asked him if his dog was friendly and put out my hand. And oh, yes, Mr. Dog was very friendly. And I got to talking to young Charles, and I was so impressed with his manners. He was so respectful to me, and he didn't know me. And the amount of love he showed in his voice and in his actions towards this wonderful dog, it touched my heart. And I thought, well, first of all, this is the kid I want to be my pet sitter, so I really need to find out who he is. But then, oh gosh, it must have been 2 months later, I saw Jackie walking Doug, and I stopped and I said, "That's Doug the dog." And she said, "Yes, but how do you know Doug the dog?" And I said, "Well, I met him when he was being walked by someone from your household, I'm assuming." And she thought I met her husband, but I didn't. It was Charles. And I told her that I had wanted to meet her from the time I met Charles because he was so respectful, and that showed a really good upbringing. And so I really wanted to meet his mom. And how are you not going to be best friends when you get to meet someone like that? But the more surprising thing is the number of places we didn't meet before this meeting. We lived in the city of Dallas during the same years, and my son applied to go to the same school where her sons all went. We ultimately chose to go to a different school. Her husband was counsel to a law firm where my firm was co-counseling, but we never met. So just kind of crazy the coincidences that we've had. And since that time, my son is an architect, and he actually redesigned a parking lot at that school. So just funny how things come around. And oh, he shops at Jackie's Kroger.
Yeah, you have to have your own special Kroger. It's true, because it's Kroger. But Mary, I think your point is so really well made, because for me, the deep water is all about the journey and how God meets us along the way, and how ordained our meeting was, even though there were so many flybys. And y'all, one of the other things that is really compelling for me is that you're an attorney.
You liked me before you knew that, so you
That's
can't
true.
hold it against
I
me.
won't hold it against you. But one of my other dearest friends, likewise, an attorney, the Mac, an attorney. So there's this thread in my life that I'm in awe of God and how he orchestrates those connections, and how divine design balances us, challenges us, completes us. And I think we should dive in some deep water with that. What do you think?
Um, it's just so humana. I agree with everything you just said. And my husband is an artist. He's got the creative brain, just like Jackie does, even though it manifests in different ways.
Yes.
But it's exactly what you said. It takes two different people to make a whole.
Yes.
You need a pair of, and maybe between the two of us, we complete each other.
I love that. We talked a little bit beforehand, and I originally, before I started recording podcasts, I was always anxious about having notes.
Mhm.
But then I've since watched innumerable other hosts, and they often have notes. So I'm not going to be too embarrassed about wanting to reference my notes. One of the really big things is the biblical reference, because in all of our friendship, it was very clear after the initial giddiness that our individual faith practices and our faith together as sisters in Christ would be the foundation of our friendship.
Absolutely.
So lots of laughs, lots of laughs. I snort a lot when we talk. So if you're a fellow snorter, welcome to this party. But in the book of First Corinthians, verse 12, or rather chapter 12, there are different kinds of gifts, but the same Spirit distributes them. There are different kinds of service, but the same Lord. It circles right back to what you were saying, that, my husband reflects a similar personality to you, and your husband reflects a certain and similar personality to me. And God orchestrates this beautiful foundation where we can challenge one another, because gosh, those challenges are really hard for me in my spouse, but somehow what's difficult with my spouse isn't as difficult with my friend. What is that?
I was thinking about that. I guess I'm going to say it through my own eyes. You give me a safe space where I can try out ideas on you. And I look forward to trying out ideas on you, because you'll tell me what you really think, if this is a really bad idea, or you'll more often suggest a Bible verse, or maybe if not the name and number, but the general concept, and I'll know what you're referring to. But you give me excellent guidance. And I trust that you will tell me the truth, not what I want to hear. And you'll say it in a nice way, like maybe spouses don't always, because we're talking faster to our spouses. I don't want to say we don't have to be nice, but sometimes we take that relationship for granted and speak more quickly
Yes.
than we should. Whereas I take no part of you for granted, and I revel in the time we have. I can choose my words more carefully, and how you say something. The words are important.
Yes.
Well, and also that's kind of like being a part of being a girl too, isn't it? That we appreciate that perhaps more than our spouses too. Yeah.
Yes.
Not trying to criticize either of our husbands. It's just, I think it's a more feminine trait.
It's a practical truth. Absolutely. And there are the degrees of masculinity and femininity within each of us.
Absolutely.
So, yes, agreed. Not trying to disparage either of our husbands. I think one of the sanctifying beauties in our friendship is that we learn how better to listen, which allows us better to understand.
Oh, yes, that's perfect.
And I was asking the Mac earlier today, even maybe the date's irrelevant, but I asked him, do I sound in real life like I sound when we recorded the podcast together? And he said, well, no, don't. And I was, oh my gosh, I was shocked. Wait, what? And he said, because you're being thoughtful and you're being intentional and you're taking your time. Whereas just like you said, Mary, in perhaps the marital relationship more than any, we just rush through it, because I know what you're going to say and you're going to answer me and I'm going to answer you. We're going to fill in the blanks and blah, blah.
We can fill in each other's sentences.
Yes.
And I can't do that with you. I mean, I can sometimes, and we do, and we laugh about it when we do.
Yes.
And we just
True.
a few minutes ago filled in a sentence with the same word. That was pretty good.
Yeah.
Pronounced it differently, but okay.
Yes.
But yeah, we are, I think, more deliberate.
So in that deliberateness, is it easier to be humble?
Yes.
Why is it easier for you and I to be humble with one another as best girlfriends, as sisters in Christ? Why is that easier than with our spouse?
Oh, for a lot of reasons, many of which I don't think I want to say. But okay, for one, you're an amazing woman. And when I look at myself next to you, I feel like I pale by comparison. So it's very easy to be humble.
Friend. Oh, friend. Thank you.
And
Right back at you.
oh, thank you. Thank you. And um, even in the best of marriages, things are not always perfect. And so there's times when I'm not going to say we're keeping score, but there's times when you don't want to be humble, especially as a lawyer, where what I really want to do is win. And it's very hard to put that personality away and
Sure.
be humble
Well,
or lose an argument.
and that's another point that I put on our notes. And I love how my notes were just highlight talking points, but our conversation naturally draws us to the talking points. That's another beautiful, beautiful grace of God. How do each of my A team members, for those of you that are watching or listening and don't know that history, my very closest friends are referred to as the A team. And everyone who's on the A team knows that they're on the A team, but the A team doesn't know who the totality of the members are. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So how do all of those friendships, you being pivotal, because you're here with me in Cincinnati. So we get a lot more one-on-one times than I do with any of my other friends. How do those personalities, um, different aspects of God's nature display in them? Justice. You're a huge justice-minded individual. Perhaps that's your nature, but you also, or your inherent nature, yes, but you also nurtured that proclivity. Mercy, creativity, truth. Like how wonderful that God weaves all of those personality aspects and traits to a greater team. Talk to me about, there's a verse in the Bible about all, like we're all members of one body, but we're different parts.
Right. And and we can't complain about which part we are. Each part is necessary.
Well, I want to be a really cool part. Can you be the toe? No, toes are actually really important.
As we're learning.
Yeah, yes. So it would be really, really easy if we were all just the same. It would make us redundant
And boring.
and boring, but it would be easy. So how do we acknowledge and love and support one another as friends in that very real space of difference?
Well, I think the most obvious way is that you want to enjoy your friend's gifts. You're an incredible cook, and so I know I always want to enjoy your gifts when, when I'm over at your house. Um, and you're so gracious with your time and your training. When I've needed counseling, you've been there for me. That is a gift that you have, and skills on top of it. You took your natural God-given gift and educated yourself on top of it and came out this polished product. And boy, I love when I get to use those skills. So that's the wonderful thing about us being different is you have skills that I don't have, and you let me share them. You let me borrow them.
Oh, I love that notion because our faith, while entirely personal, is the language. Please don't let me be blasphemous here, but our faith is borrowed from God Himself.
Oh, absolutely.
He gives it to us and lends it to us. Yes?
He gives it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so that we are able to borrow the blessings of one another's gift is a beautiful, beautiful comparison to God Himself.
And we have to be willing to share them with others.
I'm going to go one step further.
Uh-oh.
Here's the homily from 3 weeks ago. Here's, the sermon coming right back at me. Not only are we given the gifts to be shared, but we're obligated to share them. That was a new perspective to me. I don't know. It's
It was to me too when you shared it. Yeah.
that it's entirely selfish and self-serving to have gifts and keep them for ourselves.
Selfish.
Yes, God's grace and mercy and love, ultimate sacrifice and salvation are gifts from Him to us, shared. What if He had said no, thank you? Right?
Scary
Mm.
thought, isn't it?
I don't want to think about that. I don't want to think about keeping our gifts tight,
Use it
close.
or lose it. Maybe they disappear if we don't use them
Maybe.
in the
And
way in which he intended.
yes, certainly. So God is intentional in what He gives us. We are therefore intentional with what we do with what He gives us. And how does that bind us together?
Well, I think we talked about it before. We need the other to be complete. We need the other to be whole. I need to
Mm.
see things through your filters. That's why I bounce things off of you, to see things through your filters, and I think you do the same with
Absolutely.
me, for a completely different perspective. Because if I don't have the whole picture, then I've got blinders on.
Yes.
So that's how it binds us together. We see the need for the other's perspective, the other's skill set.
You know what, Mary? I think that's the best deep water of all. That in God's perfectly ordained world, we need one another. I think we're going to close there. Bye for now.